it's the whose law is that? Caleb, is it Newton's law of like an object in motion stays in motion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the law of inertia.
Yeah, is that Newton?
Yeah.
So like doing things like that where like right when you get home just start knocking that stuff out because once you sit down like it's game
It
over,
ain't
at least for
happening.
me. Like if
Yeah,
i'm
no.
if i'm sitting, I'm laying, like, and once I'm laying
Mhm.
it's like I'm done. And
Yeah.
but I liked what you were saying with the like kind of mapping it out, um, because I do this on like my lifting days and my non-lifting days. So like on my lifting days, I'll throw a little bit more rice into my meal, and on my non-lifting days, I'll do less because I know I don't need all of those carbohydrates to expend on a performance,
Hmm.
um, whether that's it's weightlifting, running, whatever the case may be. I know that my caloric output for that day is going to be lower because I'm not working out. I'm doing a little bit more
Yep.
recovering, and I don't need the extra carbs in my body. So
Yeah.
I do like to prep like chicken, and when we talk about setting up your portions, I think I already said this, but like I like to weigh everything out. I'm I'm like a I might have made this analogy before, but there's chefs and then there's like bakers, where bakers are very numbers driven. They're very precise on like their measurements and like um, want to follow everything like to a T. And then there's chefs that are more a little bit more chaotic, like throwing shit in. Like I mean, you've if you've watched the Food Network, you see chefs just reach into salt and just drop it in, whereas a baker's got to like measure it out on a teaspoon, and put it in
Hmm.
like precisely. So I'm more of a baker in that sense, where I want to know the exact weight of what I'm eating. I want to know exactly like I, I don't really boil it down to time, but sometimes I do, because like sometimes I'll push my meal until I'm at within like 4 hours of me working out,
Yeah.
so that way those carbs are readily available and I'm hitting a good workout. Um, but if you're more of a chef, where you look at your protein size, that looks like about um, like my palm, that looks good. And if that's where you need to start, that's where you need to start. And if
Hmm.
you aren't seeing results, then maybe you need to kind of drift more towards that baker side. But then once you get into, I don't want to say rhythm, but once you get used to seeing like the portion size you need, I'm at the
Hmm.
point now where I think I could grab like a clump of shredded chicken up with tongs, drop it in a container, and be like, I bet that's 3.5 ounces, because I've been
Yeah.
doing it for so long.
Yeah. And that's usually what I usually tell a lot of my clients, like when they first start off, whether it's like, well, not meal prep, but like counting their calories or um kind of just getting the rhythm of nutrition. Like what my piece of advice is, don't start off with too much. Like I know we're throwing a lot of information at you guys, but
Mm-hmm.
don't start at 100 because you're less likely to be consistent with that. Very few people can just go from 0 to 100 and just keep that going. Now, that's usually what I like kind of branch you what I was trying to say. Like that's what I usually tell a lot of my clients. Like start off like as a baker, just kind of get your numbers in,
Yeah.
like get a rhythm going, like you said, like with the rhythm. And once you kind of recognize what you eat, because most people eat not the same thing every day, but you tend to eat the same meals like periodically within like once or twice a week, if not more often than that.
Mm-hmm.
So usually your portion controls are going to look the same. So like the first like maybe 2 or 3 weeks, if you're counting your calories, kind of remember what you're eating, how much you're eating, figure out like where the numbers lie, and then once you figure out your numbers for yourself, keep that number consistent, and then you realize like, okay, that pound of chicken looks about to be that size, so I'll try to eat that as close to my size as you can, because
Mm-hmm.
not everyone is a baker, and you mentioned that before. It's two different types of people, so
Right.
kind of figure out what works for you. So you just gotta figure out what works. Some people they have to stay bigger and they have to keep it that way. Some people, like you said, they're a chef. You kind of just mix it in and just figure it out as you go. And for some people that works, some people that doesn't. You just gotta figure out what that rhythm is for you and can stay consistent. So that's why I recommend like just it's a lot of experimenting and a lot of trial and error,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out what you can do consistently, what works specifically for you, and just staying consistent as you can while you're doing it.